3 coaching tips to learn from life coach Shah Rukh in Dear Zindagi. They say movies are a reflection of our society. Some movies have meaningful messages, some are for pure entertainment value, and some are not even worth talking about. Time and again, you come across a movie from which you can take a thing or two meaningful messages that you can relate to. Recently, I watched Gauri Shinde directed Indian Hindi feature film Dear Zindagi, which means Dear Life. It stars Shah Rukh and Alia Bhatt. What made me like the movie was its second half. The film is about a life coach and a free-spirited psychiatrist helping a young girl to gain a new perspective on her life and making her believe in relationships. Nothing new, right? But similar stories have been said earlier. However, this was different. Not because of the star cast, the pace, its woman director, but because of the way the coaching techniques were demonstrated. I'm sure different people would have found different things interesting in the film and maybe some nothing at all. For me personally, I found 3 meaningful coaching tips which anybody and everybody in a position of leadership should practice. It is not limited to a life coach. I would call them the most fundamental principles at the core of the coaching process. The 3 P's of coaching. The first P is patience. Coaching is quite different from training. Though both involve learning processes, the approaches are different and they serve different purposes. In simple terms, it is more facilitating a task by helping one to find answers than giving one. One of the key things required in the process is listening to the coachee. Not just hearing, but really listening carefully and asking the relevant questions to help the coachee discover something more meaningful and important. That requires patience. In the film, the life coach Jahangir Khan, played by Shah Rukh Khan, just does that. And that's an important aspect of being a coach. If you don't listen, you won't build enough trust in your coachee and will not help someone learn or discover something new. There are several moments in the second half of the movie which show how important patience is for a successful coaching session and how that helps Kyra, that is Alia Bhatt, to open up to her coach. The second P is perspective. The most important aspect of coaching is to understand that coaches are not dysfunctional. They have most of the things required to succeed. The coach helps to unveil what they already know and have and are unaware of. They're unaware of the knowledge that's inside of them. That's why perspective is critical. As a coach, one should be able to bring in a different perspective to the coachee in the path of self-discovery. This can be done either by sharing a different perspective or asking meaningful questions. It does 2 things. First, it helps to shed the baggage of past experiences and helps the coachee to look at things in a new way. Second, and probably the most important, it helps the coachee to be absolutely fine with their own self. After all, the process is not to make someone a different person, but help them to do things differently. Help them to discover new capabilities, thereby helping someone to develop a new perspective. That can happen only when the coach has different perspectives. The coaching sessions in the movie show exactly that. The life coach giving different perspectives at different times and helping the girl to see the perceived problems or different situations in a whole new light. The last P is the push. Coaching isn't meaningful if nothing actionable comes out of it. A coach must help to identify some actionable items with a specific result in mind. It's all in the process of helping one discover what he or she knows, or maybe to get a different perspective. The life coach Jahangir Khan in the movie does exactly that with Kyra. Be it in the scene where he asks her to talk to her parents for 10 minutes every day or asks her to forgive her parents, these are actionable items. However, what is noteworthy here is that most often, if not always, they end up pushing one to an uncomfortable zone. The coach cannot do anything himself or herself, right? It's the coachee who has to act. It's their responsibility. That's why the push is important. The coach must push the coachee to do something required or necessary for the overall benefit, despite them being uncomfortable at times. However, the tasks should never be meaningless without any definite outcome. Then it's no more a push, but force, and that just doesn't work. Different coaches use different styles to apply push for an actionable item. Some do it by asking questions and helping the coachee to visualize the result. Some do it by the means of calling it a homework, simply said. Some do it by suggestion. One should do what is deemed right for a given situation. But either way, it's important. These are not the only things one requires to be a successful coach, but one can't be a good coach without them. Try and look around. See, in your experience, you will be able to identify these key aspects in every successful coaching process. I thought the movie laid out these tips beautifully through some nice dramatic sequences.